has amenities such as MRT, shopping mall, hawker center and whatnot, because they don't drive, so to speak, given their age. Not all, but some. So with that, we see them buying into town areas of HDB town, paying millions of dollars for it. Okay, so with that, we see all the DBSS flat being the more sought after one that has been paid by this Enbloc beneficiary. But at the same time, they also use their children or grandchildren's name to actually invest as well, so they are quite smart. So that is also a time where you see like, how come 30 years old can afford a $1.5 million flat? 1 percentage point over 10 quarters. In fact, it took the market or the government to bring down the market over 15 quarters by a deficit of 12 percentage point, but it only took them 2/3 the time to go back equilibrium. Okay, so with that, the government feel that, hey, it's going back up too fast. What happened next? They introduced the next cooling measure, and this cooling measure happens on the 5th of July 2018, and they lower the loan to value. So it used to be 80% loan to value, and in July 2018, the loan to value was 75%. So what it means is people have to cough out 5% more equity for their down payment for the next purchase. Okay, and this is quite painful for some. So with this, we then see in 4th quarter 2020, we continue to basically drive up, and it was surprisingly why? Because Q1 2020 we hit this thing called COVID. Okay, a very unprecedented times, right? Something that we hit along this line was in SARS back in 2003, and when this happened, many people were very scared. But soon after, they have a mindset shift because everyone got nothing to do. What do? They went online, went on webinars, right? Okay, exactly what you're doing here right now. And what happened was that they then have the mindset shift that crisis equals opportunity. Okay, and when that happened, what happened? Government was spending all the resources on time on helping businesses to cope with COVID, and families to cope with COVID, and even the healthcare system, right? That they leave zero attention to the government land sales program. And with that, we actually hit around another 26,000 unsold inventory in Q4 2020, and that's where the next Enbloc happened. In fact, Enbloc happens in Q3 2020. So this Enbloc basically rised up, and we saw how price performances in terms of PPI drove up in the next few quarters. Okay, so we also have the Ukraine-Russian war, and September 2022 we also see lowering of LTV. In fact, we see many million-dollar HDB flat were also transacted. So I want to give you a phenomenon here that gives you some form of understanding that whenever Enbloc were to happen, we see million-dollar HDB flat also transacted. It comes organically as a byproduct. Why? Because those people who got Enbloc, more often than not, they are of seniority age already, which means that they can't borrow and whatnot. But they still want that space, but they don't use the facilities of a condo, right? So what they do, they then buy places that has amenities such as MRT, shopping mall, hawker center and whatnot, because they don't drive, so to speak, given their age. Not all, but some. So with that, we see them buying into town areas of HDB town, paying millions of dollars for it. Okay, so with that, we see all the DBSS flat being the more sought after one that has been paid by this Enbloc beneficiary. But at the same time, they also use their children or grandchildren's name to actually invest as well, so they are quite smart. So that is also a time where you see like, how come 30 years old can afford a $1.5 million flat or $1.2 million flat? Okay, not because they have it, maybe they have the income to borrow, but more importantly, the down payment was supplied through their Enbloc beneficiary relative or parents and whatnot. Okay, and with that, we also see PPI going up as high as 23% over the 11 quarters because of the next Enbloc. So all in all, we see around 2 to 3 Enbloc cycle already at this point in time. Okay, since 2005. Okay, and the replenishment again went up. You can see as of Q1 2023, and we actually have about 186.8 in terms of PPI. And then government introduced this thing called the harmonization floor area, and this is something very important that many so-called consumers and investors out there may not grasp the idea or the implication of this measure. Okay, so what is this harmonization law? Okay, so basically it's the harmonization of how these 4 different governing agencies compute land space. Okay, so they are LTA, SLA, URA, and SCDF. Okay, so what they do is that they used to basically calculate the different so-called land area by way of SCDF. They'll use the outside facade of the wall area as the computation when they report to the government for safety and whatnot. Okay, but for URA, they will actually use the internal wall because that's how they quantify the so-called land cost, right? But because different governing agencies are calculating it differently, they created a lot of additional work that could save, that they felt that it's a waste of time. So in order to save time, they decided to come together and they said, hey, why not we just use a neutral parameter to calculate these different spaces, but it's actually the same space that we are calculating. So in short, for SCDF, instead of using the external wall as the calculation, they right now use, together with URA as well and everyone else, they will use the middle wall, the curtain wall, as the middle point for calculation. So what it means in implication for the developer is that they will right now have to pay more for the same land that they used to acquire, because they used to calculate from the internal wall, right? Right now they have to use the middle of the thickness of the wall to calculate, okay? And that would mean that they have to pay around 2% in more expenses just to acquire the same plot land, okay? And not just that, the AC ledges and also the balcony used to be free. And right now, because of the way they are calculating together, because SCDF calculate them as well, right now URA has also put that in, which means the developers, the private developers, are right now being implicated to pay for those so-called space as well. For consumer, it sounds like a good thing because we won't then buy places that the developer built very large AC ledges and balconies, right? But what it also means is that right now with the 5 percentage point more, it also is a double whammy, because not just the developer get it, we get it as well, because they are the one who bid for the land and then they will sell it to us, right? So even though it's a lot more inclusive in terms of the configuration, but the price point did not drop. So all in all, we are seeing about 7% higher in expenses, or rather in deficit of developers' profit margin, and hence Enbloc is likely not going to happen. Okay, so as of this period, we then see that in Q4 2023, PPI to hit about 189.8%. So what it means is that in the market, we then left with 17,262 homes. Is it a call to action right now, given that the last two Enbloc was 26,000 and also 20,000? A call to action for what? For the next Enbloc to happen, right? Okay, but this time round, government is a lot more forward-looking, and with that, in the first half of 2024, we are seeing 59,000. Of course, these are not coming in straight away. We are seeing the announcement of these 59,000 homes coming in over the next 24 months, and that's going to flood the market tremendously. Because the last two so-called Enbloc, the government did not look at the government land sales as the important area of releasing more inventory to the market to stop Enbloc. But this time around, they know that this is the main cause of what drives the market up. So they introduced 59,000 homes. Okay, so with this, if you look at the magic number here, I'm right to say that the number to hit is 20,000 or if not 26,000 given the recent Enbloc, right? Okay, so I want you to make some, or rather you have a calculator with you right now, compute the two numbers of what we have in Q4 2023 along with first half 2024 for the next 24 months, 59,100 homes. How does that look like? Okay, and the number we want to get at, okay, is using 9,000 homes year on year as absorption rate, because that was from 2014 to 2016, but over the last 5 years we were seeing about 9,700 homes as the median absorption rate. Okay, so with this, how many years do we need to hit 27,000 unsold homes again as per Q4 2020 to see the next Enbloc happening? If we were to buy new homes and we think that it is going to give us that so-called profit in the next 3 to 4 years, is it going to be the next 3 to 4 years, or it may take longer? Okay, so guys, if you have the number, you can put it inside the chat so I know that you are still with me. How many of you are still with me at this point in time, or you guys are completely lost? If you are with me, type with me inside the chat so I know that you are still with me. Okay, right, I don't want to seem like I'm going on and on, but none of you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, if you're still with me, type with me or with you inside the chat. Okay, so Alex said hardly with you, Adam says with me, Sia says with me, Joanna says with me, Michelle says with me. Amazing. Okay, so what it means is that imagine we're 76,362 homes, we're absorbing about 9,700 homes given the last 5 years. In order to hit 26,000 inventory, am I right to say that we probably need 5 years for that to happen? So 2024, we are in 2024 right now. Plus 5 years will be 2029. And that just hit Enbloc only if you follow my cursor. It's the replenishment that brought the market up, right? So we probably need until 2031 for those who buy new homes at today's high to achieve the next level high, because that's how they have been buying new homes and make money given the last two market cycle. Okay, so guys, if you are getting the insights that I'm sharing with you right now, type insight in the chat, so I know that these are something that you never even think of or never thought of before, because you never knew this is how it works. Okay, so this is something that you then know how to what? Create patterns, right? Because right now we also want to utilize it, then we want to create it. Okay, great, fantastic, you guys are getting it. Okay, so